Okay, guys, alternate ending. Take 43.
With so many movies on the net and TV, it's kind of hard being up and film savvy. Do you catch a show while you're on the go? And how do you know what to keep or what to throw? How do you know what to keep or what to throw? Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Tune in, tune in, tune in to alternate ending. Now! Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternating. We're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm film school dropout Robert Jarsinski. Across from me is our casual moviegoer Carrie Jarsinski and our very own critic in residence Tim Brayton. We're talking about our top 5 camping movies this episode, guys.
So camping. You guys have just recently come back from a camping trip, and may I say, you look very well rested, very relaxed.
Is that so?
How did the trip go? You look very beet red, as though you were stapled to the ground and held out in the sun, Carrie.
You know, that's the look I was going for, so I'm glad you noticed that. It was a trip. We were gone for about 7 days, and with our kids. Camping, and it felt like 7 days.
All right. 2,000 miles journeyed. We departed from Madison last Sunday. It is now Sunday again, so it's been a week, and we drove north through the Upper Peninsula.
That's almost 300 miles a day.
Yeah, we did it pretty
So by camping, you slept in your car on the side of the road?
No, we had a couple spots picked out. We traveled with our young kids, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we didn't want to journey. We didn't want to do more than 5 hours, really, in the car.
That would be crazy,
point.
Yeah.
I think 5 hours is already on the crazy side.
And despite the beard that I'm showing right now, no one can see it, and the near that I have to go with it.
It's kind of growing into your chest.
Yeah, it's just growing in. It's just I'm trying to go for like a single.
Yeah.
Just a pelt covering everything south of your nose.
It's kind of like a Harry and the Henderson thing going on right now.
That's a nice reference.
Thanks,
Very
Rob.
good.
Thanks.
Despite the look, I'm actually not much for camping. So I had built up this. I'm not handy. I'm not meant for the outdoors. I'm actually.
Oh, geez. Yeah. You're leading in with the deprecation. So I came up with a top 3, best of list and a bottom 3, and now that you're deprecating yourself, it's going to make me feel bad about my list.
A top 3 and bottom 3.
I knew Rob would want to talk about camping, so I said hey, what were my favorite things and what were my least favorite things?
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about the trip. I mean, you've told us that you have a thick inch deep cover of body hair, but how was the actual camping?
Yeah, it was awful. It was literally the worst. I don't know how you feel about it, Rob. We didn't talk about it much.
We didn't talk much on the trip.
It sounds like the kind of trip that would have facilitated not talking to each other
It was the worst vacation I've ever been on in my entire life. And it's not because of Rob entirely, and it's not because of our kids entirely, but...
Not entirely.
Entirely. There's portions of that, percentages.
95% is because of Rob and your kids.
I'll get to the percentages.
Okay.
But,
I just don't understand why people...
it was so bad.
I don't understand why people camp to begin with.
Communing with nature.
No, so I accept that.
So
I love camping. I'm going to preface. I didn't even say I love camping.
I love camping too. That's the thing. We always camped as a kid when I was a kid. That was all of our family trips. We're camping.
It's just, I'm a stressful person. You guys know this. Just by nature, by default, my default setting is to be at a very high level of stress. So to put myself in this situation where I don't like...
That's why you put yourself in that situation. It's because you're in the woods and it's calm and you smell pine trees and you go fishing at 3 a.m. and you gut the fish and you eat the fish raw.
We didn't have any of those moments.
Fish. You just up and fuck it.
Eat the guts. Wait, we're talking about eating the fish?
Sure.
Eating the fish, eating some of the fish, fucking others. You don't want to eat the ones you've had sex with. That's very unsanitary.
Either one. We didn't do any of those things actually, but what we did do. So I'm going to start with bottom because I think it actually is better to start there. But right off the bat, we didn't have the crank to our pop-up camper, which is required for the pop-up feature. Not ideal.
So you were just carting around a camper the entire trip.
I know Rob looks frail. I know, but he popped up an entire camper with a wrench, which again wasn't ideal. And then I think that was first stop. Second stop, our 2-year-old went to the ER. She sprayed herself in the face with bug spray. And they were like, if you're not able to douse your children's eyes with water for 20 minutes in a public campground where lots of people are around you and she's screaming, then go to the ER. And we're like, here we go. So we left and we did that. Then, she fell in the camper too and had a bloody nose, bloody lip.
Busted up her lip, yeah.
And is the punchline to all of this that because of all the blood, you began attracting bears?
But it's getting there. Yes,
Okay.
it's getting there. We attracted flies at one place. One had a fly infestation. And
all this, we were on a journey to Niagara Falls. That was the idea. It was supposed to be a round trip.
Did you throw your children over Niagara Falls?
Rob was
did
close.
the thought cross your mind to do
So we
this?
almost threw Rob over the falls when we got there. The climactic moment of this entire trip was that we were going on a fireworks boat tour at Niagara Falls, and we got there and Rob's like, "Arr," like after everything has already gone wrong. Every day of this trip has gone wrong. Rob's like, yeah, I actually booked the trip for 2 weeks ago, so we don't really have any tickets for the thing that we drove really far for. And
I had a couple fails along the trip.
This sounds like a large fail.
Yeah, there were some fails along the way.
How-
and that's the thing, is
how-
like I had built my tolerance to accept certain levels of stress to higher than what I'm normally accustomed to, which is I can't handle
it's
a
low
whole lot.
already, sure.
So to add in all of these things, and it's, I mean, guys, camping, it's 2 hours to get your fire started in the morning, to cook your breakfast. It just doesn't make any sense. Like all the effort that goes into
you got to bring the
simple
camp
things.
stove with the little propane.
So apparently Tim knows this too. Everybody but Carrie.
No, I was like, we must cook every single meal over wood and fire. And so we did do that for every single meal. Everybody's gone by like 8 a.m., like you said, eating fish and stuff and doing whatever with fish.
Doing whatever to the fish.
And that's because they had these propane cooktops. I could smell bacon in the distance and whatever. And I was like, how do they do this on the fire?
The best bacon. It's shitty bacon, but when you cook bacon on a camp stove, it's the best bacon because you're eating bacon in the outside.
So it was two
I
opposing
know.
forces that ended up hitting one another. It's Carrie the purist, like wanting this experience where all this effort is necessary, and me, the path of least resistance person, like colliding.
Yeah,
and
wasn't
you
ideal.
wanted your childhood, pudgy pie maker, everything cooked on campfire.
I didn't even have that on my bottom 3 list. We made the first pudgy pie. I was like, okay, this couldn't possibly get any worse.
What is a pudgy pie?
Oh my gosh, a pudgy pie is 2 pieces of bread smushed together, but they're in like a contraption, like a, what is it called? Like a cast iron contraption. Like it's a panini maker over a fire, and you put like pizza sauce and cheese. You can put whatever you want in it. It could be anything. And I was waiting for the girls to take their first bite, and they're like, ew, melted cheese. And I was like, just take me home.
And that was the thing.
Your children do not eat melted cheese?
No.
What? What?
I thought that they would. We don't know.
Do you not feed them pizza?
They don't think that that's melted. Yeah. So, all things that weren't ideal, but.
No, I learned a lot about myself, and it's the thing I always go back to, where I'll say like, next time I'm put in a stressful situation, I'll handle it better.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of those along the way where I could have improved, and I just didn't handle things very well.
Here is my question to test how truly stressful and unpleasant this trip was. Where you camped, what were the toilet facilities? Did you have pit toilets?
It was a combination of pit toilets and then Carrie going in the mini potty that we brought.
You said you would never tell.
Oh, I thought I said never show the pictures.
He meant never tell, except to our audience of podcast listeners across the nation.
She went in the toddler potty a few times. Not number 2 though. Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, Rob was on emptying. That was one of his jobs. You actually did the emptying really well.
Thank you. One time I emptied it on myself, which was a pleasant experience. Luckily, I had my spill-proof pants that I wore that resisted urine.
We're focusing a lot on the bad. I didn't mention Rob jackknifing the pop-up camper into the bumper of our car twice. But he did do that. But on the upside, we played Uno every night before bed, and that was delightful.
Because that's something you cannot do in your house.
Absolutely not.
Well, I think what we learned from the experience, too, is no matter what we do or how terrible an experience is to us and how stressful it might seem, to the kids, they have no idea.
Yes.
So they had a jolly old time.
Coming home from the ER, Alice was like, I was a little teary. Not teary, but I was like, I never want my kids.
I was in the ER. I think you could have.
I know, but I was like, I don't want my kids to ever see me cry or whatever, unless it's a really sad movie like Moana. And so we're coming back, and I was like, Alice, I am so sorry. I mean, she's like 2. So I'm like, Alice, I'm so sorry. And she's like, why? I got a coloring book and 2 lollipops. And I was like,
Well.
yeah, you did. Like, this was fun. That's like,
So what you've done is
perspective.
you've trained your 2-year-old daughter to hunt down chemicals that she can spray into her face for the reward of
Yes.
lollipops and coloring books.
She will do this every vacation.
We'll
from
take you
here
with
out.
us next time, Tim, and you can show us the ropes and how to do it. And I'll probably handle myself
Bring your
better with company.
propane.
I don't know how to camp with children. That
You'll
seems like
learn,
hell.
Tim. You'll learn.
We'll end up doing it not less stops, stay longer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys drove too long.
Yeah.
Camping benefits from getting to the campsite and settling there.
Agreed. That's what everyone else was doing.
It's good to be back. Unfortunately, come back to some bad news. Toby Hooper, I found out, passed away.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Great director. Actually, kind of a shit director. I take that back. Shit director who made a couple great movies.
A nice person, kind person,
Presumably,
probably.
John Carpenter had some very nice things to say about him. But yeah, the director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the credited director of Poltergeist, whatever story was going on there, director of the 79 TV adaptation of Salem's Lot, all of which are really solid movies. And I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like one of the great horror films. So if he had done nothing else besides that, he would be totally one of the good guys.
Yeah, I'll have to check out some of his other work. I haven't seen a lot of anything recent that he's done.
You
I
know,
saw some of the
most
Gin.
of his films aren't good.
Yeah,
To be blunt,
yeah.
most of them aren't. But those good ones are good.
I still remember the TV series Body Bags from growing up. I think it was on HBO or something. So it's a series of 3
Bags?
Body Bags. It's where Tom Arnold like unzips bags and then it retells the story of how the people got in there. Everybody's got like a unique
Yeah,
story.
It's like a 3 stories. Is that how many?
Is it kind of like a Bones?
No, it
No.
is not like a Bones.
Like Bones, the doctor from Star Trek?
No, Bones. You didn't ever see Bones?
Oh, Bones, the
Bones.
show that starred
Deschanel.
David Boreanaz.
I loved that show. You could find out what happened. It's not like that either.
no, not
No.
really. No, not at all.
Just like, okay.
Other than the title, there are Bones somehow. Other than just being Bones.
But still very sad that he's
Very
gone.
sad. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let's jump into worth mentioning. Karen, I know you and I we were camping, so
So
we
you're
were
worth mentioning is the
technology-free.
spectacle of nature.
Yeah, seeing the Niagara
I
Falls.
saw 2 movies.
Did you? You squeeze them in?
When?
Did you really?
I did. Yeah.
Were you like watching them while you were sitting on the toddler potty?
That would have been entertaining.
Picture available soon.
I do. I do like to do that on the body. I still can't believe you said that. But anyway, I saw Moana today, but I also saw World of Tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
You talked about it in the last
It's a
episode.
good movie.
And I went out and saw it.
It's really good, right? It's a 5-star movie, right?
It's probably not for me.
It's like the best movie ever made, right?
It's
did you
17
see
minutes.
this?
I watched it today.
Oh, 17 minutes.
It's
Oh,
a
okay.
short sci-fi animated film. Pretty depressing. Pretty
Yes.
not for me.
Totally
Felt very
depressing.
Tim. Felt very much so that like anybody who's a Tim fan and or like an extreme sci-fi fan likes the idea of like conscious and technology, like your subconscious being uploaded and layers of like cloning.
I mean, that's what it's like
Sort of about.
but it's not about that. It's about like it's about realizing that you are a speck in an infinite universe, and when you die, you will be unmourned.
And you know
Which is
what?
great.
Which is why I was like, I can't watch this movie. It's too real. And so I had to turn it off. I don't like things that are too real. And that was a harsh
and
reality.
The animated stick figure movie is definitely too real.
That
It actually is too real. That's kind of
it's
what's
too
great
real.
about
I know. So it's something though. I'd reaffirm what you said last week. That thanks for the recommendation. If anybody ever likes the movies I like, never watch this. But if you like Tim's movies, go out and see this little World of Tomorrow flick.
I'm somewhere in
Short.
between. I don't know where I'd fall. It sounds pretty compelling.
You
it.
wouldn't
It's
like
pretty
it.
good.
Okay.
You should see it.
See,
It's
see what I'm
17
saying?
minutes long.
Now
It's
you wanna
17
see it.
minutes
Now
long.
you wanna
it's
see
worth
it.
It's probably worth the 17 minutes. Tim,
You've spent time longer than that waiting in line at a restaurant, for God's sake.
Watch it there.
Tim, I did manage to check in on the site, and you've been just crushing out reviews
I've
lately.
I've been trying to make sure that I keep ahead of things before the school year starts in a few days. So I have seen a lot of movies. Some of the notable ones, I did catch up with Colossal, which Rob, I know is a favorite of yours. Didn't love it. I gotta say,
That hurts, Tim.
I'm not gonna go into it. I went into it in the review, and it's kind of spoilery-ish, but did not love it.
Would I love it though? Rob thinks I would love it.
I think you'd be between Rob and me.
Okay. All right.
I think
it's a good
that,
place to be.
that I'm not sure exactly where. Saw some more Amityvilles. They're getting worse and worse, so that's a very exciting life experience. But the movie I want to talk about for my worth mentioning is actually Carrie. It was on your top 5 most anticipated for the summer. And at this point, I have now seen all of the films from our most anticipated podcast.
I'm glad someone has.
Wind River, which on the subject of camping is all about being outside, being in the woods, and having it be horrible, and you suffer, and it's awful. So I think it would speak to you guys.
Applicable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the second film directed by Taylor Sheridan, the third film written by Taylor Sheridan, the first film written and directed by Taylor Sheridan. Of course, he's the writer of Sicario from 2 years ago and Hell or High Water from last year, which I know, Rob, you were a huge fan of Hell or High Water.
I like Hell or High Water.
My favorite movie of the year.
It's so Wind River, I don't want to go into it because I want you guys to go in blind as much as possible, but it's a murder mystery set on the Wind River Indian Reservation. But it's kind of not really about that. It's much more about like the people working on the case, some of whom are white, some of whom are Native American, and the omnipresence of the Wyoming winter, which just sort of like suffocates everybody. Really atmospheric. I loved it. Like as a work of direction, I thought it was so good. And the cinematography is amazing. The score by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, it's just full of this like weird vocalizing, like more like chanting, like male voices sort of chanting dirges. Really incredible score. Surprisingly, given that I still think of Sheridan as like a writer and not a director, the screenplay is the weak part. I think it has a really wonky third act, and I won't say anything else about it but that. But really great characters, amazing performances. I don't think I've ever liked Jeremy Renner better in anything.
I was just going to ask you that.
He's
I'm like,
so
you're not a
good.
fan of him usually. So
There's a specific scene I don't want to talk about. We found out pretty early that he has lost his elder child when she was like in her teenage years. It's not really specified when that she has died. We learned that within like the first 20-25 minutes of the movie, I'd say. And there's a scene where he sort of lets that emotion bubble up to the surface, and it's like so good.
Yeah.
Like his performance in that moment is so incredibly good. So definitely see it. I think you guys would both love it. My feeling is that however you feel about Hell or High Water, that minus like a point or half a star.
Okay.
So that'd be 4-star for me if that holds true.
The same kind of vibe of like very straightforward story about like male identity in the American West, good genre film plus good character study, but it's just a little bit weaker because the script is just not quite as strong.
How is Younger Olsen?
She's good. I mean, the character she's playing is not my favorite.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. But she's
she
good.
does it.
She's
Okay.
good as that character.
All right.
Excited to see more Taylor Sheridan directed features or
Totally.
stick to writing?
Actually, I think at this point, I'm more excited to see his next work as a director than as again, because like the directing was on point. The screenplay was not. So I guess that would be kind of, maybe he can't do both at the same time. I don't know, but I definitely want to see him do some more directing.
We have to see it this week, you know.
I know. I'm trying to find babysitting
Get a
for it.
babysitter,
I'm trying. Well, remember, you can find that review along with other details about all the movies we've watched at our website, alternateending.com. That's alternateending.com. Before we head to our break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. We've made it easier to become a Patreon subscriber, and friends of AE are taking notice. You want to make us watch a movie? Have Tim write a review. Pick your own episode topic. You can do it all from our Patreon page.
And indeed, I just want to point out that the review requests have started as of this past Friday.
That's right. You've dedicated every Friday to kind of Patreon reviews.
As long as the reviews are in the hopper, Fridays are going to be Patreon review days.
We had a few new Patreons join based on that. Andrew Milne, Gabe Prestel, and Cher Evans all got our Critics' Choice Award, so they'll be entitled to, on a first-come, first-served basis. We do have limited spots, so secure it now, 2 reviews from Tim. Just a quick review of how that works is the Razzie Award. That's our podcast shout-out, $3 per month. Sundance Jury Prize. Carrie and Rob will watch a movie of your choice and discuss it on the podcast at $5. Critics' Choice, $8 a month. Golden Globe, $12 a month. You control the entire episode. And the Oscar, the creme de la creme, all of the above for $20 a month. So be sure to check that out. See if you're interested. Again, limited spots, so get there quick. Also want to thank all of our listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com, click on our Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds going to make our show better. Since our last episode, here are the things that were purchased. Some automotive gear for a 2014 Tacoma truck. The bed D-rings. Got 2 of those.
You need a D-ring.
Because you got to D it up.
If you don't have a D-ring, your D's will fall out.
You need to hold them in place. Hold the D's in place. To go along with that, a air filter, maybe for the
truck?
vehicles, maybe for the truck. I'm not
Okay.
sure. A couple books purchased. Call Me by Your Name, a novel.
Oh, that's being made and actually has been made into what is apparently a really phenomenal movie. It's coming out this fall.
Title is confusing to me. Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name. I don't think that's confusing at all.
It would be like if I said I want to be called Rob and I said it to you.
Okay.
It's normal.
It's totally normal.
The Legend of Zelda book as well, the Curuli Historia. Tim, you're a Zelda fan. I don't know if that's...
What did you just... Hyrule?
Hyrule? Hyrule
Is that
Historia?
what, it sounded like you said Kyrie, like the
That's
Kyrie
right.
eleison.
I said it the right way. Whatever the right way is, that's the way I said it.
Okay.
Something like Summer Volume 1, as summer comes to an end. Some cell phone accessories also purchased. The Powerline micro USB charging cable. We could have used those. We ran out of power a few times with our phone, although we weren't really
Did.
looking at our phones.
Rob was really good about unplugging.
We had a computer power supply purchase for HP Compaq. Digital music, couple musical purchases. We had the uncompromising war on art under the dictatorship of the proletariat.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a mouthful.
Sounds like a pretty trivial beach read, somebody.
That's intense.
Also had the Surfer's Choice, some Kindle ebooks, First Blood, and Casino Royale. Interesting. Yeah. Music, Purgatory purchase, not sure. Somewhere stuck between. Get it?
Good
Not
one.
sure?
I got
Yeah.
Kiss Purgatory.
That was bad. That was bad.
Office products, the letter tags. Oh, I love those things where you
Oh,
can
yeah.
just tag everything.
You like to buy those and never use those, yeah.
I did buy them, label makers. It's basically a label maker.
Yeah.
And right in front of the time for when back to school
Right.
is happening, that's when you want to start labeling things for your kids. Outdoor equipment, could have used some of this. A direct wash-in, waterproofing, like spray, I guess it is.
Sure.
Also a Lumina Trail 12 millimeter half-inch security cable, vinyl coated, braided with sealed loop and 7 foot. So those are those lights, I think, that go
Okay, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Those are fun.
outdoors. I love those.
How'd you get that from that description there?
I don't know, I'm making it up. I could be completely
Okay.
wrong. Also had some pet supplies, Max adult grain free pasture lamb dry dog food, 25-pound bag.
So wordy items.
Yes, master lock, covered padlock with a 2-inch shackle. Can't get through that.
Can't get through the
If you're
shackles.
hiding a body, burying it under, or
Lots of use for shackles.
yes.
Yeah.
Some video
Oh,
games,
Tim.
Infinite Space, Nintendo DS, as well as Blaze Blue Chrono Phantasma, the extended version.
That sounds very Japanese.
DVDs purchased, Parks and Rec, the complete
Nice
series.
I bet this
Appreciate
is
that
on the
purchase.
heels of the aforementioned divorce.
Do you think that's what it
They're
was? You
getting
brought it
all
up?
Chris Pratt, and then they're like, well, I just got to get it all from the beginning to see what happened.
I do love that series. Also had an Amazon Instant Video purchased Train, and then someone tried out a free channel on our Amazon. Appreciate that.
What's that?
That helps us out a lot. Amazon allows you to try sample different curated channels, or like a Stars or a or
channel.
Showtime.
Okay, got it.
And last but not least, we had a former winner of a top 5 episode, Victor, purchased Joe versus the Volcano through our site with his
saw
free
that.
Amazon
Excellent.
rental.
So see, you can rent movies.
Yes.
And this goes to my Tom Hanks can never have a bad movie theory.
That is one of his best movies.
It is
In
up
a career studded with many bad movies.
there. We'll agree to disagree again.
Well, thanks guys for all your purchases. When we get back, our top 5 camping movies. And welcome back to Alternating. We're talking about our top 5 camping movies. Care, how did you go about? Well, your research for this is easy. We just
is.
experienced camping.
Just going to do anything that was similar to our trip.
So basically, the 5 movies about families killing each other with axes.
Yeah, Blair
a
Witch.
horror
5
movies.
Blair Witch movies for me here.
No, what is a quintessential camping movie for you? How did you go about your criteria, and how did you weight one over
Okay.
the other
Yep.
after you narrowed it down your list?
Yep. I'm glad you knew that I did that. So I said it has to take place somewhere outside of your home, but you have to own a home.
What?
So
Like,
it can't
it
be
can't
about
be-
homeless people camping on the sidewalk.
Because then that's your home. Right? So it cannot be your primary residence.
What movies
What
were
about hotels?
disqualified as a result of this?
District 13.
Okay. That
Sure.
is a camp in a
Yeah.
sense, yes.
That bug camp.
It is a refugee camp.
Yeah. So that doesn't count. Would have
Nope.
put that on here maybe.
Hotels?
Doesn't count. That's another good point. So you also have to have a campfire. And you get special points if there's some sort of like roasted meat or like s'mores, like if you're cooking something over the fire. And you have to like be deliberately camping. Like you have to know you're camping. It can't just be like
Wow,
the
that's
Revenant.
actually good. I actually like
Right?
that. That's actually on my my criteria.
Revenant
as
doesn't count to me. Like there's a campfire in there, and yeah, there's some meat. There's some roasted meat, probably bodies, but it doesn't count. So yeah, that's it for me.
You know, my definitions were fairly loose, although I think I kind of intuitively ended up at a lot of the same places you had. Has to involve sleeping outdoors and or sleeping in a rustic cabin.
Yep, cabin counts. If you have a primary residence, right? Can't be
I
your
mean,
own.
That was
rustic
not a
cabin.
conscious
Okay.
definition, although it actually makes me feel better about one of the movies that's probably the least camping-y of the movies on my
Okay.
list. Had to be in the spirit of a vacation, which I guess kind of gets to you have to have an actual house.
Yep.
It is a thing you've gone to the effort of doing.
Yes, you've booked
So
this.
so it's not just like you fell out of a plane and have eaten all of the other soccer players and now you have to build a tent. Like
Nice.
You
Good.
You went out
That's the
because
movie
you wanted to
Alive.
go.
Yes. That's what he was saying.
But that doesn't count.
That doesn't
No, it
count.
doesn't.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because there's
It
no
doesn't
tent.
count because they didn't want to.
There's no tent.
There's no tent.
The
in there.
airplane-
And there was no. And they have chocolate, so that kind of counts. Remember they had that chocolate in there.
They had
yes.
1/3 of s'mores ready to go.
1/3 is smart. So
But yeah.
wish I thought. of that.
I'm very much in alignment with this. The thing you haven't mentioned, so I'm with all of you. Intent. You have to be wanting to go
Yeah.
camping.
Yeah.
And the structure, I'm fine with a cabin. I'm fine with tent.
Yep.
I'm fine with whatever structure, as long as you intended to go camping and that camping is the main part of the movie, being in touch with nature, being outdoors. I disqualified survivalist movies because I think, like you said, Alive, that wasn't their intention to go.
No, they didn't want to be there.
Or like
put
the
in
one where
place.
James Franco has to cut off his own arm.
Right. That was not intentional.
He did
27
not
hours.
intend to spend the night.
Here's where I'm curious. None of you have mentioned this. I took out movies about camp.
I would not have been capable of assembling a top 5 if I took those.
No, that
out.
doesn't. That
Really?
That's,
I had so many.
No,
and
'cause-
as
yeah.
I looked through them, I was like, how do I narrow this down? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put movies about camp
No,
outside of
because
this.
actually,
Because that's not really
because it says-
camping.
It says camp in
But
the
isn't-
name.
that's not really
Yes.
camping.
It's called camp.
It's called
though.
camp.
camp. It's
So
not
they're kind of
camping.
camping.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I don't know. We'll see.
thought maybe
I
one of
have
you might.
movies at summer camp.
Well, it's too bad that you guys haven't seen as many movies as I have to be able to have the luxury of being able to winnow it down from that.
Well,
that large
it could be
list.
that I have seen those movies and I just thought they were very bad.
Well, let's get to it.
Let's
Carrie,
get to it.
What's your
Am I
number
first?
5? Yeah.
Okay, my number 5 is on Tim's list. I know it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And it's the oldest movie I've ever had on a top 5 ever since this started a year and a half ago. The Parent Trap, 1961.
Sadly, it is not on my. I saw it showing up in. I think it was comments on our site. People were talking about The Parent Trap, and it is like it's totally a camping movie. Just totally forgot that it was camping because that's not what I think about.
Really more of a camp movie? Like
Where there's
going to
s'mores.
camp?
There's s'mores there.
Well, it's
and there's
more
fires.
of a camp movie in that it's a live-action Disney comedy starring 2 versions of Haley Mills. Therefore, best appreciated on an ironic, kitschy level. Hence, camp.
So I'm glad you really just summed up everything I had about that movie. My number 5, right there. Haley Mills, going to camp.
She plays the same
But,
person.
but surely you have more thoughts than that.
I did have this brief moment where I was looking up the names and the details, and I was like, "No, where's the other twin?" And I was like, "Oh yeah,
That's right.
They
It's the
don't-
magic
it's
of
the
the
magic
cinema.
of
I'm sorry for my ignorance. Is this the first time in, where does the
Where was
origin
Patty
of this?
Duke come in to
Well, because
this?
the Prince and the Pauper is kind of the first kind of.
Oh, like the identical twins
Yeah.
separated.
The idea of this.
Oh, it's ancient.
It's an ancient idea.
It's ancient. It predates civilization, possibly. Certainly it predates Western civilization.
But it does it in a very campy way. These aren't campy movies that I'm doing. Directed by David Swift, written by Eric Kastner. So you've seen this, though.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
loved
yeah,
it.
totally.
So Haley Mills plays a twin. She has another one. So there's 2 of them. And then unbeknownst to her, she has these divorced parents who have separated, obviously, when they're really little. They're babies. And then they meet up they're like, whoa, doppelganger. Like, gosh, you look so much like me.
It's funny as you talk about the plot. That's messed up.
I was going to say, what is the legality of
That's totally
agreeing
messed up.
to give each parent one twin?
You know what, though? It was different times. It was 1961. That happened a lot more frequently then.
Did it?
Yeah.
I mean, probably. And it didn't feel weird at the time. And then it didn't feel weird when they redid it recently. So they redid The Parent Trap with
Who's
the girl
Lohan,
with
right? Lindsay Lohan?
Oh, with Lindsay Lohan, yeah. Not as good. But yeah, I love this movie.
I have not seen the remake.
Yeah, the remake's
No,
not
the
great.
original's actually, I think, pretty delightful. For me, it comes at a period when Disney's live action comedies are kind of a little bit out of control, but I think it's one of the better ones.
What is the one that was Steve Guttenberg, where they also do like it? There's a
3 Men and a Baby.
That was good, but I don't think it was it. There's like
I
twins.
thought that was The Parent Trap 2 or something.
Oh, is that what it is?
I don't know. No,
Either way,
I'm
The
gonna go
Parent
look.
Trap 1 made my number 5, and this was a super cute camp movie.
Can we get you to sing the classic Disney rock song "Let's Get Together"?
No.
Please.
Can you?
Not if you're not going to.
Do you? So start me off.
No.
Okay.
I don't trust you now.
I don't trust you. I'll come in the chorus.
I also only know like the refrain. I don't actually know the lyrics, sadly.
I'm gonna practice up on that one and then go to your number 5.
All right. So my number 5 would sadly not make Rob's list because it is about camp, the structure, the place one goes as a destination where there are cabins and counselors and such. It is in fact a very, very funny parody of the entire genre of let's go off to camp where the counselors will get stoned and have sex and no one cares about the kids. 2001's Wet Hot American Summer.
Nice.
A film directed by David Wayne from a screenplay that he wrote with Michael Showalter. It was the first film that they made. At the time, they were basically just known as being 2 members of the ensemble of The State, a really wonderfully bizarre sketch comedy show from the 90s. And this movie is like the best parody of the 21st century. It is so incredibly obvious that Wayne and Showalter know exactly what they know what they love about summer camp movies. They know what is incredibly stupid about summer camp movies. They're playing up both of those things. It has the best cast. This is before a lot of these people were famous. It's the film that more or less put Amy Poehler on the map. It's the film that more or less put Bradley Cooper on the map.
Oh, really?
When he was just generic looking handsome guy and wasn't yet Bradley Cooper. Elizabeth Banks is in it. Paul Rudd is in it. It was like the huge, like he'd been in a few things before, but it was very much the Paul Rudd is now a comic actor of note movie. Also has roles for Molly Shannon, David Hyde Pierce, Janine Garofalo, all of whom were a bit more established at this point, but it's an outstanding cast. The script is so funny. One of the most quotable comedies of
Have you seen this, Rob?
ages.
No, so Netflix brought this back, so I tuned into the series a little bit.
Yeah, there was a prequel series a couple years ago, and then just like a month ago was a sequel series. And I've watched neither of them. I hate to say it.
I need to watch the original.
It's so good.
I know I will love
Well, this
it.
is
I know I
Showalter, so
will.
this is my name is Doris. And
I
The Big
know.
Sick.
I know. I'm
you
gonna
like
love
this
it.
guy.
I'm gonna love it.
It's a very different movie from those. It's
Yes.
much more sarcastic, much nastier, much dirtier. But it's terrific.
Then you
funny.
will love it, Rob.
I will.
Rob, I'm actually shocked you haven't seen
Yeah,
this.
I am
haven't.
too.
And
Because not everyone knows this. Rob and I lived in the same dorm in college, and I saw this movie because of the people in our dorm who were like
Weirdos.
proselytizing for
Yeah.
it.
They were weird,
I'm
I think.
surprised
I'll
you're
have,
able to miss
I'll have to
that.
check it out.
Oh,
It's
so
one
good.
of the camp movies that I've not seen. One movie that I have seen, my number 5, obviously. We talked. I asked a little bit earlier about how do you rank these. Looking at my list, what's interesting about it, the Rotten Tomatoes of all of mine go from best to worst. So it goes from a high of 90% with my number 5 to a low of 29%.
It's okay.
And also with money made.
Go with your gut, Rob.
Well, I'm going to suggest that the quality of a film overall is not the same as the quality of it as a film about camp.
Thank you. So that's what I was curious about, how you put your higher ranked ones over the other ones. For me, it's more of the essence of camp. For
Sure.
you, it didn't necessarily mean the quality of the movies. But so my number 5 is probably the best movie on my
Okay.
list, or most one that I enjoyed the most, but
Okay.
not the one that represents camping the most. But it fits my criteria, and I'll stand by that. Talk about 1991's City Slickers.
Oh,
right?
Dang it.
Smart.
It popped in my mind.
I love
No,
City
he has a
Slickers.
90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
90%
that
on Rotten
blows my
Tomatoes.
mind.
I love
That's a
City
bit- I love that movie.
Slickers.
Hour 53 minutes, written by Ron Underwood, who did Tremors, Heart and Souls, Mighty Joe Young, unfortunately, and Pluto Nash, Adventures of Pluto Nash. But starring Billy Crystal. When Billy Crystal's on screen, whether it's just his voice or him, I like.
He's infectious.
I love watching
I
him.
absolutely do not co-sign that, although I do think he's excellent in this particular movie.
Jack Palance nominated for Best Supporting.
Jack Palance
won Best
famously
Supporting
did
actor.
a one-armed push-up on stage
That's
when he
right.
won his Oscar.
Daniel Stern, the late Bruno Kirby. So on the verge of turning 40, an unhappy Manhattan yuppie is roped into joining his two friends on a cattle drive into the Southwest. What resonates with this movie for me is that it is much like myself, like someone who is a fish out of water, should not be camping, should not be on a Southwest cattle drive, and has to learn from this kind of well-established cowboy in Jack Palance. I really love this
So
movie.
good.
Norman
This is
the
my
cow.
dad. You know what? You and my dad struggle to find like common ground on things, because, for
This is
obvious
one,
reasons. This is one that you could be like, after all these years, you could go in there and be like, hey, Ron, I love City Slickers.
But I feel what Billy Crystal's character felt in the
totally.
sense of wanting, like, having this this crisis of like I want to be in touch with nature. I just have no skills to be able to do it.
You had the repellent pants, the water
I
repellent
did.
pants
I
on
bought
the
the
last
gear.
trip. Yeah.
I'm willing to buy the gear.
Yeah.
So I'm invested in the
And
gear.
you were obviously somehow able to bluff your way in and out of Canada. So.
Yes, we did. We did a good job. You put enough Canadian dollars together, you can buy your way in and out of customs, no problem. Also, the first appearance of Jake Gyllenhaal as the son of Billy Crystal. So if you be sure to check out the end of that to see Jake Gyllenhaal.
So just real quick question before we move on. Up or down, Legend of Curly's Gold.
I still like it because I like the first one. It's not better than this one, obviously.
No, it's the exact same movie, only the jokes are worse.
Yes, that's all the jokes they saved from the first one.
I like them both.
I like them both, though,
but the first more than
first is clear.
But I'm glad you guys agree that qualifies as camping.
Camping, yeah.
Yes,
They camp the whole movie.
They have a primary residence, and there's a fire.
Okay.
Were there s'mores?
I think they do. They meet the Ben and Jerry's. I don't know if they wrote s'mores, but
a dessert. There was a dessert.
Yes, there was a dessert.
So it counts, yeah.
Yes. All right. Number 4, do you care?
Number 4 to me, there is no dessert, but it's such a good movie. How about this? I'm just going to describe the movie in the plot, and let's see if you can guess what it is.
All right.
So Chuck Nolan is trapped on an island after his plane goes down.
I
and he
do believe I know what movie this is.
He decides to camp for 1,500 nights. He's a man of luxury, and so he has to learn everything for himself and how to survive on an island alone: cooking, shelter, and fire, and maybe a s'more.
I thought you said intent was necessary too.
No, that was you.
That was just
you.
me. And,
I was just
Tim and
tagging
I?
on. I was just
okay.
I was just going with the crowd,
Good
but I
choice.
just
Well, it's
said has a
camping.
primary residence. Makes fire. 2000 Castaway.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
No, it's camping minus the intent.
Minus the intent, but I never had that as a criteria. Right. Primary residence, directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by William Broyles. Stars Tom Hanks and Helen Hunt. You had this, Tim, for something devastating. What was the list that you had this on where it was like devastating endings? Do you remember?
No.
You had it on something like romance.
It must have involved the volleyball in some capacity because that's my favorite part of the movie.
Oh, Wilson.
The scene where he falls off the raft.
I know.
I can watch movies with children being eaten by dogs and not feel that upset.
Same here. Like anybody, like there could be an apocalypse, but not the loss of Wilson. So he 7.7 on IMDb. I loved this movie. And then the moment, so he gets trapped here for several years or a few years and, or 1,500 days. So several years.
Yeah.
And, when he makes fire for the first time and has to realize, like, that would have been you, Rob.
Well, I did in fact say that when I made fire. I used a fire starter, so each time.
Yeah.
So that
every
is,
time.
That is, if you can't start a fire when you have fire starter, you don't have the right to brag when you do start it.
The weird
but I
part
still
was that
have
Rob
one.
was already in the loincloth, trying to like get into the spirit of it.
If by loincloth you mean just nude with that patch of hair that I have that covers the singlet, the hair singlet that I have.
That's gross. So, but yeah, I love this movie, and it's camping. He was camping every day.
Very good movie. I mean, and it's. I'll have a couple on mine too, where I want to be that person again, where I can summon the ability if necessary. You always want to, if you're put in a position, you want to say that, oh, I could do that if I was in that position.
Yeah.
I
would you eat the raw fish? Like Tim?
I would do whatever I need to. I would knock my tooth out. I would do whatever it takes.
You'd
to
make
survive.
friends with a beach ball?
I am fairly confident that Castaway is not an aspirational movie. I think we're not meant to want to be him.
No.
He lost all that weight though. I feel
he did lose a lot of weight.
Yeah,
he did lose a lot of weight.
Sushi diet, but yeah, I love this movie, and
I just want to know that I could survive if put in a situation like that.
That's
what I'm interested.
You
in
wouldn't,
knowing
but
about myself.
You'd make it like at least
I'd complain a lot.
300 days.
Yeah, the movie would just be me complaining.
Complaining.
And
I can see
it's
that.
mostly silent for. I mean, he talks to himself, right?
He does talk to himself, but there's not a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Good pick.
But anyway. So what's your number 4?
So my number 4, it would have been impossible for someone with my taste in cinema to have come up with a list of camping movies that did not include at least one film in which the campers are being menaced by a psychopathic killer who wants them all dead and manages to get many of them dead in the process. So the one I picked, not sadly one of the adventures of Mr. Jason Voorhees, because the Friday the 13th movies are all shit. This is the 1981 Friday the 13th knockoff, The Burning, which was directed by a certain Tony Maylam. It's one of the early films released by the company that would become Miramax. I don't know if it was actually called Miramax yet, but it was like an early moment in Harvey Weinstein's, like, I will this movie into existence because I am some sort of bizarre, like, marketing guru god. So it's a pretty straightforward story. There's a camp, a summer camp, and there is a guy named Cropsy who has decided that all them counselors and kids on his camp need to be dead. And so he goes about
What's
making
his
that happen.
weapon?
I believe he has multiple weapons, if I recall correctly. I don't think this is a one weapon only serial killer. It is far and away my favorite of the early 80s slasher films. It is a remarkably good atmosphere. Like it's the one that makes you sort of realize, oh yeah, this is a summer camp. This is the woods on the East Coast. Whereas, the Friday the 13th, they feel like there's just like they put up some trees in a parking lot. But
this feels it. Like you feel like you could be there.
You feel like you're in the woods and a campground, which is, I think, part of what makes it work as a camping movie, because it does have that sort of sense of place. Also really feels, Cropsy is a New Jersey regional, like, campfire story. So it has that vibe of, like, we're sitting around, we're at camp, we want to scare each other to death, so let's tell this story. And I think that's a vibe you don't get from a lot of slasher movies either, because a lot of slasher movies are just like, you came to see gore effects, here they are, the end. This one actually has that sort of sense of, like, spookiness going on. Also, another film with an amazing cast before they were famous.
That's what I was just looking at.
It's either the first film or near the first film for Jason Alexander, Holly Hunter, and Fisher Stevens. Obviously one of those names is not quite as impressive as the other two, but still, it's Holly Hunter's first movie. And she's not in it very much.
Who is that? Holly Hunter.
Oh, Holly Hunter.
I know
so
who
good.
it is.
Broadcast News, Raising Arizona.
I'm thinking of Bonnie Hunt right now.
Jason Alexander's handsome with hair.
Jason
No?
Alexander.
No.
Does he not play like
He's less
the jock in this one?
He has hair, and he's not.
Oh,
He doesn't look. He looks more handsome than Jason Alexander does.
Yeah, the still looks solid.
But yeah, it's I would say in general there are not that many slasher movies that I think are worth it if you just don't like slasher movies. This is one of them. It's actually scary. It's actually interesting to watch. The characters are fairly well built.
Oh, Holly
the story's
Hunter.
Holly Hunter.
Is she the sister of Julie Roberts?
In real life, I don't think so.
In real life, no.
They might have made a movie together, but I don't
Okay.
think they did.
I thought that they were.
But yeah, so
Rob locked the pop-up, which made me feel really secure while we were there. I crack up at that kind of security.
Oh, I still run upstairs from the basement when the lights go
I know,
off.
like you're locking the pop-up camper. Like we're made of fabric.
Well,
and
the
Rob's
raccoons-
like,
the raccoons
you know
did
you
come.
can break into a pop-up camper with
Yes,
a pair
I
of
do.
scissors.
Yes, we were really startled by
with
the
a butter
raccoons.
knife in our case. You could actually unhook the fabric from underneath and get in.
Yeah, it's
but
just
Rob,
canvas, yeah.
But Rob has clicked down the He's like, is it locked? Did it lock? Did you lock tonight?
You never know.
You never
Keeps
know.
up the honest people.
So, what's your number 4, Rob?
Number 4 is again aspirational for me in some way, but it is intentional. That's the difference.
Okay.
So this is someone who's surviving on their own.
Yep.
Journeying a long journey, just trying to get in touch with nature.
Okay.
I'm talking about 2007's Into the Wild.
Ah, yes.
No.
No one?
No.
I don't like that movie at all.
You don't like it?
I don't
I
like
only
it.
read the book. I never saw the movie.
Directed by Sean Penn, based on a book by John Krakauer, who apparently does a lot of outdoors.
Yeah, that's his thing. I think he's best known probably for that movie about the people who died on Everest.
Everest, yeah, that's
Into Thin Air. No,
Everest.
Well, Into Thin Air and then Everest as well.
Everest is not. Everest is specifically not based on his book, and there was like a whole legal thing.
The whole thing. Oh, okay.
But he was present in the movie Everest. Like,
yes,
he was there on Everest with the others.
He was there at the time.
Into the Wild stars Emil Hirsch. Vince Vaughn, I think, plays I don't even remember Vince Vaughn's character.
Oh, it stars a billion people.
Yeah,
it stars so many people.
I won't go. Kristen Stewart, Jenna Malone.
For many years, it was my favorite Kristen Stewart performance. For many years, it was the only one of her performances I liked, actually.
After graduating from Emory University, top student, athlete, he's this kind of golden boy, abandons his possessions, gives his entire life savings away, and decides to go hitchhike in Alaska and just live off the land in the wilderness. So a lot of camping. Nominated for 2 actors for Best Editing and Actor in a Supporting Role. It didn't make a whole lot of money and didn't do well.
It wasn't meant to.
I did like it. What didn't you like about it?
I found that it was, and I've never read the book. I've heard the book does not do this. I found that it was much too willing to be like, oh yeah, this kid knows what's right. He gets it. As opposed to this kid is an elite little twerp who is going to kill himself because he doesn't know how the fuck to deal with outside. And that kind of rankled me a little bit because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
He has no place.
He's an idiot.
He has no place doing this.
What he's doing,
the movie romanticizes him being an idiot.
Yeah.
I guess I fell for the romanticism aspect of it because I romanticized that myself. If put in a position,
now you see what would have happened if you had done that.
He eats maggoty meat and doesn't see why this is going to be a problem. He's a dumb man.
Yeah.
He's a dumb man.
But you learn. I mean,
and ended appropriately.
He does not learn.
He doesn't learn. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't learn. Obviously,
die.
But there is something there's something that drives it in all of these camping movies, being in touch with nature, where you want to be back to, and then an earlier time when you had less luxuries and things. Sure. And then all that being said, when we got home back from our camping trip, I'm so happy to be home. I'm so happy to be here recording this podcast.
Did you take a 70-hour shower the minute you stepped in your front door?
Absolutely. Just to get the campfire smell off, which I know you said
campfire smells a good smell.
It is a good smell. Unless you're going into a hotel after several days. We did that the last day. When Niagara Falls, you couldn't do it. And go in the last day and you get in the elevator with people and they're kind of looking at you funny and you realize you've lost perspective that you stink. So it's we didn't realize till later after taking off our clothes and showering and whatever that this whole fuming bag, people in the elevator are gross.
But minus the fact that he dies. Christopher McCandless, I like what he was going for. I see myself wanting to strive to do that, not the death part.
Bring your cell phone, call me if you get into trouble.
Sounds like you came pretty close though.
Yes, it was touch and go there for a bit.
It does feel like it.
Number 3 to you, Carrie.
Mine is even more into the wild. It's the 2016's Captain Fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sure.
Have you seen this?
Yeah. Oh, remember, I don't like it at all. And we got into a thing over it.
You know what's so funny? We got into a thing over it. And then I got to myself and I was like, oh my gosh. When I was writing this down, I was like, I hope Tim would love this. But why does it feel like he wouldn't? It feels like he should. And it's because we fought about it.
So I'll just really quick, criteria-wise, I forgot to mention, I excluded ones that just have camping scenes in it. It needs to be the majority of the movie. I guess if the plot is, your whole life is camping.
The whole movie kind of is. In
the RV. I guess he's in a bus.
It's it's not tent camping, but
that's true.
They're indigent.
They're in a cabin. True. Yeah. I love this movie, and the more and more I think about how much I love this movie, I realize I love it more than I even loved it when I first watched it, minus that deer of death part. But it's directed and written by Matt Ross. It stars Viggo Mortensen, George McKay, Samantha Isle, Annalise Bosco. He has a bunch of kids. So this guy, played by Viggo Mortensen, lives out in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Northwest and is raising his kids away from Western society. And he's teaching his kids this rigorous physical and intellectual education, and goes out, and his kids are just brilliant and awesome and strong, and they don't have iPads and they don't have whatever, but a situation forces them back into Western society, a very unfortunate situation. It's the story that comes from that. It's this just really charming. I'm going to say charming.
I'll stop. I feel you're being self-conscious of me looking at you. I'll stop looking at you.
Yeah, I know. Look off. I can see your face in the mirror, though. Looking down. I just would love for people. There's a few people that I've recommended this to who have loved it. And so if you haven't seen this movie, I would love for people to try it. It gets a 7.9 on IMDb.
Yeah, if you like Rob and Carrie movies, you'll like this movie.
Just cute, charming, classic movie. And I thought Tim would love it, but does not.
Tim does not love it.
Does not.
It's funny. It didn't hit me as a camping movie. It doesn't strike me as a camping
There's just
movie.
all those fires.
I do like this movie.
Desserts.
It fits.
Yeah.
I feel like it fits
Yeah.
at least as much as
Might have been one that I overlooked then.
Yeah.
Because it's a good. I like this movie.
So what is your number 3? Not Captain Fantastic.
So my non-Captain Fantastic number 3. This is the one where I was a little bit like, ooh, does this count? I think it counts. So it's a movie about a group of men who decide that they want to get in touch with nature, which, as we've been talking about, is kind of one of the things that happens. And when they get in touch with nature,
Do you know what it is?
I have a feeling.
it touches them back real bad.
Is this a poison
let me
ivy
get a guess.
situation?
Let me get a guess in.
Yeah.
Is it Deliverance?
It's Deliverance,
Yes.
What is
1972
Deliverance? I've
film.
never seen that.
I've never seen it either.
Directed
but I
by
have a
John
feeling.
Borman, written by James Dickey from his novel. And yes, it is about 4 men. They are played by Burt Reynolds, John Voight, Ned Beatty, and Ronnie Cox.
Why does it touch him back?
Well, it touches Ned Beatty in a special place in a way that he has not consented to.
Is this like a poison ivy situation?
This is like a raped by hillbillies situation.
Oh, that wasn't what I expected you to say. No,
I could tell it was not what you were expecting me to say.
Yeah.
It's they find that they are not prepared because they are hapless city folk. Mm-hmm. They are going on a rafting trip and they don't really know how to deal with rapids.
Sure.
They are going on a camping trip and they don't really know how to deal with camping. They are going to a part of the country where city boys are not regarded with much respect, and they don't quite adjust for the fact that they are interlopers into this, world where there are people who live there and who don't like them. So it's all about the ways that they get punished for being arrogant.
Interesting.
And they're sort of like, we're going to go to the wilderness to be men, and the wilderness is like, fuck you, you're not. You're gonna die horribly
In a bad way. Yeah.
And so I don't want to spoil it too much. There is.
I kind of know what happens.
There is
I feel
death.
like, no.
There is less death than I think I've just suggested there is. It's very much though about. It's very much about the trip you guys had. It sounds like
feels
it's
like
about
that, yeah.
being just everything that can go wrong happening. It's a really good thriller.
Is it kind of like The Hills Have Eyes? Like in that,
no.
like people come out of the mountains and are bad.
They're not like. They are mountain people. They are the villains of the piece, but they're not radioactive cannibal mutants.
Okay.
So it is different in that respect. Really good. It's a Best Picture nominee from 1972, the year that The Godfather won. It's just a really rock solid thriller about like urban arrogance in the wild.
Yeah. I've been meaning to see this, and partially because I am this urban arrogant person. As I've led up to this. I feel you'd be John Voight. I'm John Voight. Good.
I don't think you wouldn't quite make it to Burt Reynolds. I think you'd be John Voight.
I wasn't going to watch this movie, but now I have to watch it so I can know what that scenario is.
Like you said, it's the warning label that I need to put on myself before I want to go do a Into the Wild or Captain Fantastic or City Slickers type of an adventure. I have to realize my limits, and I've heard great things about this movie.
It's terrific, and it's the movie that gave John Borman a blank check to make Zardoz, which is like the craziest ass movie of the 1970s.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to know your limits. I mean, what are you going to do when you run out of those bath wipes that you had?
I did use a lot of bath wipes and fire starter on my trip.
Towelettes that you had.
And a lot of
Sorry.
cheats.
Anyway,
a lot of cheats.
So it's
someone
number
who
380.
Someone who didn't need to cheat in surviving because he's a well-read man.
Yeah.
hadn't actually lived to test out these things until put in the position to. This is the one where it's a little slippery. Where I will say it. I thought about it. I didn't want survivalist movies like purely based on like Alive or
sure.
What was your pick again?
Castaway.
I didn't want those types of movies. I wanted intentional placement into a camping situation. This one kind of qualifies because they intend to go out to and then are put in a different situation than they originally intended. I'm talking about 2007's The Edge, and the person I was talking about was Anthony Hopkins. I just love
Never seen it.
I have
The
not seen
Edge.
this one. I know
With
the
Alec Baldwin?
poster. I know
Okay.
the poster for The Edge.
Just Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins just looking angry at each other.
I think there's trees, like motion blur trees. In
Motion
the
blur
background.
trees. You got it. That's the movie. This is an intellectual billionaire and two lesser men struggle to band together and survive after getting stranded in the Alaskan wilderness with a bloodthirsty Kodiak bear hunting for
Who
them.
is the other? I think it's the same bear that's like the bear that's in all those other bear movies.
Yes.
Bart the bear, I believe. is
Probably
his name.
Bart the Bear. And I like this movie because, again, it's this person who's just well-read, who's read about survival, and I feel like I learned a lot of things about how to build a compass. I do want to go out into nature.
I know you do.
And I really do want to survive. And then I get there, and then it's awful.
And then you don't have the crank to your
and
pop-up
then I don't
camper.
have Anthony Hopkins there to help me crank up
Yeah.
the pop-up camper.
Yeah.
I like this movie. It has a place in...
Maybe you're more like Ned Beatty. Maybe I need to take that back. You're not John Voight.
Oh, please don't put me in the
Ned
Ned. I
Beatty.
know what happens to Ned Beatty. This is a David Mamet script, and I don't know what your thoughts are on him. The movie is only 60%. As I mentioned, my ratings drop as we move along here, as does the box office. Only made $43 million. But I like this. I like Anthony Hopkins' performance in this. I like the character setup, and I just like how they try to survive and the little tricks that he's read about put into application throughout the movie. And I've went and tried the same thing about using magnetizing a needle on your shirt and then putting it on a leaf filled with water as a compass solution. So
You tried that?
No, I haven't tried it.
Oh,
but
you're gonna try it. Okay.
Take that away. You know,
I would try that in your backyard first.
before I
just to be sure.
Yeah.
And the reason why it qualifies as intention, they're going on a photo shoot to Alaska, and then they forget something, and they're in a cabin in Alaska, not their primary residence, and then go off to go do this kind of side journey, and then the plane takes a turn for the worse there.
All right.
This isn't really at all the movie. For some reason, this is the movie that reminds me of what you were just describing. Have you seen The Gray?
It is The Gray. It is very much like The
I
Gray.
was going to say, you'd like The Gray.
Yes,
You've seen The Gray.
I did like The Gray.
Yes.
It was
We talked about The
a
Gray.
lot to take in.
Yes,
because it's very intense.
Liam Neeson. That
is less intentional. I would have had The Gray on here, but
The Gray
it's
is
less.
not a camping movie.
Yeah, it's not a
The Gray
camping
is
movie.
straight up survival.
It is a survival movie,
I
which
really
would make
like
a great
that
top
movie.
5
Wolves,
on its own.
Liam Neeson.
Oh, the Wolves, yeah.
Doesn't end well. Yeah.
Well,
It ends well if you're a wolf.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So is that my number 2?
Yes,
Your
this is
number
where
2?
I think we're
gonna
in
overlap?
territory here.
All right. Probably so. So this one's a good one. And I hope it's on both of your lists. I hope we're going to do that thing we do like a high five, or whatever.
We don't get the try 5 very often.
We never get that very often. No.
We got it just like 2 weeks
just
ago.
2 weeks
When
ago?
we did
Yeah.
the thing with the other thing.
Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
3.
But so this one is a good one, and it has every best actor you can ever possibly imagine. What?
That's okay.
You know what it is? What is it?
No, I'm excited to hear
Oh,
who
okay.
every best actor is.
It's directed by Rob Reiner, who, did you know that he was married to Penny Marshall?
I actually did not know that.
did
Holy
not know
shit.
that.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Laverne from Laverne and Shirley.
That is crazy
That's
to me.
his first wife. Yeah, very crazy. I wish he would have stuck around with him. Gosh, he's done a lot since 1986.
Oh, I see where you're going.
And Stand By Me.
Sort of lost track of this as a camping movie, but it totally is.
Oh, it so is. Like the quintessentials camping movie. This is what I wanted if I was a young boy. This would be my movie. I'd want to be a part of.
I've mentioned it too many times, so I left it out.
That doesn't count as a reason.
I just left it out. I have it on my worth mentionings.
All right. So this is a story where everybody's seen the story of, it's based on Stephen King.
Yep.
Story too, a short story called The Body. It's Stand By Me, and it's it's the story of Gordy Lachance, a writer who looks back on his preteen days. I think he's 12 when he goes out with his close friends to find out. They know that there's like a dead body that's like out in the woods. So he goes out, which is like hard to think of now, but it makes sense in the movie. Like bike style, like backpacks and bikes with snacks style into the woods to find out find this dead body. And then there's these other kids in town who are like after it too, like the bigger kids, and they're after it too. Like everyone wants to find it first, and it becomes a race to figure out who can find the body first. This is like one of those classic summertime camping childhood. Everything that you think about, like your best friends really are your friends from your childhood. Like if you're friends with somebody that you were friends with when you were 12, it's for a reason kind of thing.
Sure.
And it's a huge cast. Will Wheaton, River Phoenix is in this, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, a chunky Jerry O'Connell. I love.
When you said all the best
Jerry
actors,
O'Connell.
I'd forgotten that Jerry O'Connell was in it. You're totally.
I'm spot on, right? I know. Kiefer Sutherland is in it too. Oh, so everything about this movie just brings me back to like summer goodness.
I've spent the summer reading a lot of Stephen King, and it's become clear to me that one of the things he does very well is sort of tap into that mid-century American boy nostalgia mode. And like I'm anxious to rewatch the movie because I like the movie a lot, but I think now that I sort of have that in mind, like that's a major concern of his, and I think it's really prominent in the story. And it's really just appealing.
I love it.
I love this movie, and it meets my qualifications. It's
Thanks,
good.
Rob.
No, good
Thanks,
choice. Solid
thanks.
choice.
What's your number 2? Not Stand By Me.
My number 2 is not Stand By Me. It is a film that just straight up forgot that it was a camping movie. No, my number 2 is also a movie that I forgot was a camping movie until I saw some people mention it in the comments on the post. Typically, I don't read the comments, but in this particular case, I was having an issue coming up with camping movies. So it's like, all right, I'll jog my memory a little bit. And that's how I was reminded of the very wonderful children-based, not children's movie comedy from 2012, Moonrise Kingdom, written by Wes Anderson and Roman Coppola, directed by Wes Anderson. And it's set in, I believe, the 1960s on this little island off the coast of Massachusetts or New York or some such. And it's all about, there's this boys camp and there's these like summer homes for wealthy Long Islanders. And from the boys camp comes a little boy, and from the wealthy Long Islanders comes a little girl, and they fall in love and they run off to be in the wilderness together, and they just camp on the shores of, whatever sound of the Atlantic Ocean they're sitting in. And Moonrise Kingdom is the name of their little camp. Just a thoroughly charming, delightful movie. It is the Wes Anderson film about children, and his whole thing is like this whimsical, childlike sense of reality. So for him to actually make a film about children is such a perfect fit. It's adorable. It's hilariously funny. It has, again, another film that has just like goddamn everybody. Edward Norton, Bruce Willis, Bill Murray in a small role. Tilda Swinton has a very small role, but she's amazing in it. Frances McDormand. The two leads are Jared Gilman as Sam and Kara Hayward as Susie. Both of whom are so Sam and Susie. Isn't that like the best pair of names for two kids who run off and fall in love at camp?
The best.
Bob Balaban is the narrator, the on-screen narrator in one of literally the best performances ever given in a Wes Anderson film, weirdly. Great score. The score is based on Benjamin Britten, and it's so good. It's so charming. It's like the perfect summer movie. Again, saturated in nostalgia, but like in a way that's just very pleasant and just reminds you of like, this is what it ought to be like. This is what a lazy summer afternoon is supposed to be like. So good. It's really good. And did I get the vibe? Has at least one of you not seen this movie?
Neither of us have seen it.
No, I've seen.
Oh, you have?
Absolutely.
Right.
It just didn't qualify for me because of the camp aspect of it. But it is camping.
But they also camp.
They're around. I'm. Are you a Wes Anderson fan?
Much so.
Much so.
There was a couple years there where I thought I wasn't because of Life Aquatic and then Darjeeling Limited, but then he got
Darjeeling Limited. That was the movie.
Rob had another movie. I told Rob, I was like, my goal in life is to see this before this episode because everybody had it on their list, and it was just a bad, obviously, week. I had no reception, but I didn't know you had seen it.
I think you would have despised it because it's so like pro being outside and pro the wild and pro camping that I think it would have made you hate everything.
And maybe at that moment, because that would have been like pre-leaving for the trip, I would have liked it. But Rob was like, "Yeah, I don't know if you'll like it because it's Wes Anderson. It might be." He named
do you not
off
like Wes Anderson?
I don't think I do.
I don't think she's seen it enough. You've seen Rushmore.
Yeah, I don't think I liked Rushmore. Maybe,
and that's not even the most.
Tenenbaums?
I think I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to say.
I don't know if you'd like Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah, I don't know. But I
do.
No,
they're very
regardless, whatever we've just described sounds fabulous to me, so I want to see that. What is your number 2, Rob?
I got to hurry and jump back on here. So this is now I'm venturing now below certified fresh. Now we're in 40% territory.
That's pretty damn far below certified fresh.
We're going into nostalgia factor here.
Okay.
And it's purely based on that. And this is camping more in a cabin, like going out with your family and trying to take in the outdoors with the 1988's John Hughes written The Great Outdoors.
It's my number 1.
Yeah.
It's my number one movie.
This is what I think of when I think of going
best
camping with the
camping
family.
movie of all time.
Going camping with your family, dealing with your, when you bring other individuals like brothers and sisters and like dealing with other people, in-laws as well too. Stars John Candy, Dan Aykroyd, and Annette Bening. A Chicago man's hope for a peaceful family vacation, much like what we were hoping for, is shattered when the annoying in-laws drop in. We didn't have in-laws; we just had life.
We wanted our in-laws to drop in. My
in-laws.
brother-in-law is a really good camper, but anyway, he didn't.
So there are a lot of funny moments that I still remember about
the bat,
the bat scene, the old 96er. Having to eat the gristle.
The steak. Oh, gosh.
So, yeah, it's more of a nostalgia pick for me, but when I think of camping, this movie jumps
John
to the
Candy.
front of my mind.
It's John Candy.
Yeah.
Makes this entire movie, and everything about him is delightful.
There are a couple coming-of-age movies, like I think it's his son. There are always relationships when you go on these campgrounds. There's all these people and these limited friendships that you make along the way, or romances that you might make. Again, I've never experienced. I never went camping with my family, but I imagine that this is what camping.
No camping romances,
experience.
Rob.
No camping romances.
Had
just
lots of
little flings. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lots
of camping ones.
Funny little thing here for us Wisconsin folk. The beer that they drink is Point Beer, which is based off of Stevens Point Beer. So
I did not think of that.
I'm gonna have to check that back out. But did not do well on the box office.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like a film that at that point in time with that cast should have
done better.
Well.
Yeah.
41 million at the box office worldwide. Andrew Jones, listener in front of the show, Constance Wozniak and Victor also had this as their picks.
Yeah, no, excellent choice, Rob. Excellent choice. That's it.
So that does your number one, right?
That's my number
so
one.
You're left with number two.
No,
she
Stand by
went
me.
to. Oh,
yeah.
You took it. Thanks,
right.
Rob.
Sorry about that.
You son of a bitch.
I know.
So for my number one, I discovered something important about myself, which is that the camping movies I really respond to tend to also be horror movies, and I did consciously try to not lean into that when I built this list. But the number one film had to be a horror film. And I can defend it as a camping movie, although I don't necessarily know that that's the first way people think about it. The 1999 film, The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I would never have chosen
totally did.
that was your number one.
It's made by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. It is, of course, the story of three documentary filmmakers who go on a trip into the woods. They got their camp gear, they got their tents, they got their cameras. They're going to film a documentary. Instead, they die horribly.
They all do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the first frame of the movie.
Yeah,
It basically tells us these people are all dead.
Yeah, and then we're getting the footage.
We're getting the footage.
Yeah.
So I think it's scary as hell. I know that there's since the moment it came out, there's been a pretty pronounced backlash to people who thought it was stupid and boring. And that has been the divide since time immemorial. I'm very much on the side that it's a scary movie. But I like that it's a camping movie, not as a horror film, because of how perfectly I think it evokes it's night. You're in the woods.
Yeah.
You're in a tent. Every little tiny sound is so magnified, and you're just so aware of the bobcats and the squirrels and the bats and whatever shit is outside. And that's I think the thing about camping. It is never actually peaceful. I love it. I love tent camping so much, but you're always constantly aware of the wild around you. And I think Blair Witch Project evokes that perfectly and then weaponizes it. Like it takes that sense of like there's sticks cracking, God knows what's walking around, and it makes it horrifying. And that to me is so perfect. And plus the whole plot hinges on three people who think they know how to camp and don't, basically, because they get lost immediately.
There's a campfire. Is there a campfire?
There must be a campfire.
There must be, yeah. Is there a primary residence?
Well, they certainly don't live there.
I mean,
they're college students, so they live in a dorm.
I guess that counts.
Presumably.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Not
I
your
think
number
certainly
one?
no, certainly qualifies. I think
I think that was a lot of listener picks too.
I think it ended up being pretty high up there too. No, mine is another nostalgia pick, which I'm excited to bring maybe a movie to the table that no one on earth has seen but me. This movie made $300,000 worldwide.
Quite a bit.
I think at least 20 other people saw it.
29% on Rotten Tomatoes, and now we're reaching the bottom of the barrel. This is a movie that stars Sean Astin, and I think one of his early roles, and Kevin Bacon, 1987's Whitewater Summer.
I have never heard of this movie.
Never heard of this movie. No.
So it is about a boy who is more into like chess club and more cerebral, and his parents are trying to toughen him up. So they send him to this, it's not a camp, they send him to this outdoor adventure thing where you go camping in the woods with this adventure guide. So the story of a shy boy who gets convinced by his parents to spend a few summer days in the mountains. Again, this is just
self-identification.
Really more self-identification, reflection on myself. And I was this kind of kid, and he's very smart. So he can build he builds a.
I really thank you for also noticing that.
He was very
Is
handsome.
he attractive as well?
He's very handsome.
Yes, that's right. Washboard abs.
He does not belong. He does not belong in the woods. He is able to build the transistor radio from like small parts, and Kevin Bacon is this lead kind of guide that is supposed to take these boys and make men out of them.
Sure.
And they go to tent camping. Things go a little, not necessarily Deliverance style, but things go
Presumably,
awry.
I don't think you could legally have things go Deliverance style if Sean Astin is the lead in 1987.
But it's a little bit about revolting against the person in charge, and then realizing like, oh crap, I need that person in charge, but then finding a little bit about something about yourself in it as well too. And there's some whitewater rapids, there's some mountain climbing, certainly some camping as well, being in touch with nature. That's what the whole movie sets out to do, is to get this kid, the city kid, to appreciate nature. And it also looks at the nature person, which is Kevin Bacon, and says, hey, like, calm down a little bit. Like,
sure.
You know, like, I know we said, like, hey, we didn't, no iPhones or no iPads and things like that too. It's like, you know, like, there's a place for everything a little bit. So it explores both sides. It's not a great movie.
So why is it your number one?
It just, I haven't seen it since
because
I was a kid.
He idealizes the smart, sexy Sean Astin
Sexy.
character who reminds him of himself.
Really great physique, man. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I can see you going for that.
But he pulls it through. He comes out on top, and I just really like this.
So you should recommend this to all listeners.
I recommend this to anybody born in 1982 who is me.
Is it possible to see this movie, or did it air one time on TNT and you watched it?
No, it aired a lot. I've seen this movie many times.
I mean, he owns it. He owns it.
I don't own it, but I want to own it now. I think you could probably find it on Amazon Prime or something like that.
Is this might be a find it on the dark web situation, I suspect.
Possibly get a virus on your computer.
Exactly.
No, I recommend this to the people who like
Interesting pick.
nostalgia
Interesting
picks.
pick.
Go back and let me know what you saw. I might watch it. I'll watch it with you.
I think I might be trying to catch up with this one before our next
Whitewater
episode.
Summer. Well, every week we ask you, our audience, to share your picks and thoughts for a chance to win a free Amazon movie rental. Here were your top 5 picks. We had a lot of people write in, so we had to do a kind of an amalgamation of third. So we had quite a few at 5 movies at third place. Evil Dead 2.
I thought about the Evil Deads. They didn't quite feel... Camping seems more incidental to me.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have
them.
it on the list. Also, a couple on here were more scenes to me, but this one, it was interesting. I thought this was a good pick. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, which takes place...
Sure, because the only good part of
that
that movie is when they're camping.
The Great Outdoors. So a little lineup
Yeah.
there for us. We also have the Parent Trap Care.
The old one?
The old one.
Yeah.
And this is one that's very true in a documentary, the Grizzly Man. Very much
Is that the one where the guy gets eaten by the bear?
I like that. It's a nice out-of-the-box, yes.
Yeah.
He gets eaten by a bear.
That doesn't end well, yeah, no.
And Tim,
It doesn't. It starts, we know he's eaten. We know in advance that he died.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
and Tim, you line up with second and first place movies all the rest of the way. So
All right.
for second place, we had Wet Hot American Summer.
Nice.
First place, we had a tie with The Blair Witch Project and Moonrise Kingdom. So very neatly fitting your 1 and
This
2
is clearly-
as well.
So what I hope this teaches you guys is that you need to fucking see Wet Hot American Summer. Rob,
And
it
Moonrise
would
Kingdom.
be your favorite movie, Rob.
I think
Yeah,
it
I can
probably
see
would
that.
be. I do like camp movies, and I left them out because I had too many to pick. I've got Heavyweights, you've got Camp Nowhere, you've got so many to pick.
There's so many.
There's so many to pick
Sleepaway
from.
Camp. I listed a few. Our lucky winner this week was Justin Bale, who had at number 5 The Way with Martin Sheen, which I've been meaning to see.
I'm not familiar with this title.
Learns how to hike, camp, grieve, and be nice to others. Number 4, he had Touching the Void.
Okay.
Grizzly Man, so lining
Grizzly
up
Seen
with
it.
our audience.
Forgot about it.
You saw Grizzly Man?
Oh,
Yeah.
how do you
How'd you
forget about
forget
Grizzly
about
Man?
Grizzly Man?
I mean,
Just
I wasn't
Werner
thinking about it.
Herzog.
I
Werner
didn't feel like he
Herzog.
had a primary residence.
But I mean, how do
Oh.
you forget about it as a motion picture?
Oh, I didn't forget about it as a motion
Okay.
picture. I forgot about it as this camping
sure.
movie.
And this one was a nice touch. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Have you seen this?
I have seen it. It's fun.
It's cute. I do like it. It's kind of like reversed. Well, not reversed.
It's like it is pretty much reverse Deliverance.
but just with black comedy. And then Alone in the Wilderness, which I haven't seen.
Alone in the Wilderness. No.
Late 1960s. Dick Pronek built his own cabin in the Alaskan wilderness. Oh, this is that PBS special, Care. that we saw.
where the guy builds his own
builds
cabin?
his own cabin in Alaska, I think. I realized,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a
Are you
documentary.
sure?
Yeah, and he narrates it himself. Oh, that's
I
really
have
cool.
seen that.
Let's check it out.
That
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
hardcore. I really wanted to be him.
Justin, shoot us an email at contact@alternateending.com for details on how to claim your free movie rental. If you want to win a free movie like Justin, be on the lookout for a spoiler alert or top 5 movie posts on Facebook and Twitter to share your favorite picks. In closing, thanks again for everybody for tuning in. Check us out on social media. Go out to our Facebook page and like it. Twitter, we're tweeting quite a bit now. All of the episodes and things like that. Maybe some pictures as well from our camping trip. Go to alternating.com to find all of our movie reviews, podcasts, and more. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google, and be sure to leave a review if you are listening.
We have 2 new reviews.
All right, 2 new reviews. You want to go through them, Carrie?
I could.
Maybe next time.
I don't have my notes, but I have one from Dr. Apostrophe X.
Okay, go
It's a
for it.
funny
Thank you.
name, too.
Thank you, Dr. Apostrophe X.
I don't have his full review, but he was really nice, and he's a longtime Tim reader. Did you know
well,
that?
thank
Yeah,
you.
can go out there and read it. He came over and he said he did not expect it to be as funny as engaging as it is. So hey there, and that it's a good way that he or she, I guess we don't know if this is a he or she, finds a way of discovering new films and enjoys hearing the fresh takes on old favorites too. So that's you again on the old favorites. Although I had one today, and then there's also one from Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's a good username.
That is a good. That is good. Who said it's her favorite podcast? He or she's. I don't know. Favorite podcast, and that it leaves he or she laughing with movie recommendations that she would never have otherwise seen. So thank you for the reviews. That's really sweet.
Yeah, no, thank you. And tune in for our next show where we'll be dedicating an entire episode to reviewing a movie, A Matter of Life and Death, for our Patreon subscriber, Travis Neely. I don't know much about this one.
You will find out about it. I'll just tell you real quick. It's a movie by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. It is one of their best movies, and if you are a fan of 1940s British movies, you know what a big deal it is for that to be one of their best works.
Yeah, everybody go out, try to grab a copy of it, see it, and then you can join us and we can all commiserate together as we go through it on the
There'll be no
podcast.
commiseration. It is a great movie.
Just a great movie. We'll just all say that right now.
We'll all talk about how great it is what we will do.
We'll catch you then.